Hello and welcome. I'm Dan McDermott. This is Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. Lots to talk about this week. First up, a Wall Street Journal article that quotes a ComStore statistic that says people on average spend 3 minutes per month on Google Plus compared to 7 hours on Facebook. So I want to ask Mike or Alan Firstenberg. I saw a post from Jeff Jarvis, or a tweet. I think he said Rupert Murdoch hates Google, ergo Wall Street Journal hates Google. So the question is, first of all, does ComScore have a history of accuracy? So is this probably an accurate statistic?
I think the biggest issue when we're talking about the accuracy is we don't know their methodology. We don't know exactly how they're acquiring this information. So, can we say it's accurate or not? I think certainly every single one of us has some personal experience and some personal anecdotes that say, no, it's not accurate at all.
Okay. Is it Oleg? Let me get you in on this. What do you think? And
I think it's completely inaccurate. I mean, basically, I've read nothing but all kinds of posts from people time to time that just cannot basically get their life back because of how much time they spend on Google+.
Well, but look at all the people who there's a halo on your head, right? Okay.
Yes, I do. That's why I make the comments on it. But anyway, it's one of these deals where, from my experience certainly, and from other people's, I'm just promoting new Google features. I spend way too much time on Google Plus compared to what I used to spend on even things like Twitter and Facebook. I mean, that was basically just little deals I did here and there just for the heck of it when I had a few minutes. Google Plus actually is engagement in Google Plus. There's no comparison between that and just about anything else. So I agree with Alan. I don't know what they're measuring, how they're measuring, but one article, a similar article I read from another publication, which I can't quote right now because I can't recall what it is, but it has a similar sentiment that the rates really dropped in terms of usability, in terms of utilization of Google Plus and stuff. And that particular person who wrote that article basically I looked at her profile. She's got 3 followers. She's got no posts. And so you look at that, and how do they let people like this write these articles is beyond me. But if you look at how many posts you get, if you look at all the what's hot and see that there are tons and tons of posts that get 500 or even more people that commented on it. I think they only show 500 comments, right? So it shows counts go all the way up to 500. You cannot have lack of engagement and at the same time you have over 500 comments on anything if nobody is paying any attention, doing anything Google Plus. So I personally think it's totally.
Well, I know that in defense of that, if she thinks that the service sucks, that's why she doesn't use it. That doesn't mean that she can't say that. I know that like I've talked about some services that I thought were, I don't know, just not captivating me, and so I said that on the show, and then I guess someone there could say that, well, he never uses the service, that's why he's saying this, but I don't know. Peter, okay, do you think this is fair? I don't know how accurate ComScore is on this. I know that a lot of people post privately. I know that a lot of people who circle me have like no posts, or they have a post from January or from August or July, and they're not really using the service, but they circled me. And I know that I have a lot of relatives who aren't on the service, and those who are don't really use it. In fact, I'm in my county, Warren County, 40,000 people. I am by far the most prolific user, and I don't know if anyone uses it anywhere near the way I do. So I mean, they may actually be accurate as much as we don't want to admit it. Do you think that they might be correct?
Well, let's talk about one thing here first, Dan, and that is the fact that all the data that's available to us publicly is public data. So what ComScore is using, what's accessible through the API and through natural search online, is all public information. One of the big things that Google pushed when they were talking about this network in the beginning was its first network where you can easily set the security of every communication you have. So every time you go to share something with somebody, you have the option to either share it with one specific person, a group of people, everybody that you follow, or the entire world through public. So I think a lot of the people that initially adapted Google Plus adapted it because they like the ability to not share everything to the entire world, but just to the circle of people that they trust. And I think that's got a lot to do with the name circles. But another thing, let's talk about the big disclaimer of the article, and that was that ComScore did not track any mobile usage. I mean, I'm on my phone all day checking notifications and responding to comments and doing things like that. Now, of course, I've got a few more followers than most. But my dad, for example, he uses Google Plus all the time. He never even knew there was a website. He just thought it was an app for his phone, and he's been using it for months now.
That's funny.
So
that's
I mean, that's a critical omission there to say, oh yeah, by the way, we didn't include any mobile usage on here. So that makes me wonder, what else have they omitted from there? You know, obviously there's no way to tell what public activity there was. You know, they only have the ability to find out, or excuse me, any private activity, only the public activity. But how they got the data, you know, if they got it directly from Google and that's really the way it is, I'm not really shocked. You're talking about 90 million people. And, you know, even if 9 million are on here constantly using it all the time, it's going to average out. You know, if I do 3 hours a week and, you know, one guy created an account and never came back, it is going to average out. So I think finding out what the actual percentage of regular users are would be a lot more relevant than saying, oh, the inactive users count towards the average. So I think instead of, you know, doing a straight average, you know, maybe there could have been some better statistical analysis to figure out, you know, maybe you know, something different.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I just wanted to
go
add
ahead,
to
Oleg.
what Peter was saying. I was going to add that, you know, the deal, what he said about mobile is definitely makes a lot of sense. And also we got to remember that when you're using a tablet, which tons of people use tablets nowadays, they're running the mobile app. So it's the same thing as using the phone. So if they're excluding all those people, they're excluding a ton of people. Then the thing that you touched on before about the private use, and you know what Peter said also, is you got to keep in mind that there is plenty of people, at least in my circles. I mean, I can tell you one thing. I have about 450 people I follow right now, and when I look at my stream, it's a constantly moving stream. You see new posts coming in all the time. So obviously somebody's posting something, and I don't have 10,000 people that I follow. It's only 450. That's one example. Second thing I was going to say, I have plenty of people who I usually see in my streams that indicate I never, and I mean that literally, never post to public. These people do not post to public at all. They only post to their circles. And if that's the case, as Peter alluded, they're not getting this information. They can't get it. Google doesn't supply it.
Well,
so
but
with that being the case,
here's the real question in all of these cases is somehow they're, theoretically, if they're using the public data, they're turning number of posts into amount of time spent on the system. And I don't see how you can make that conclusion easily.
You can't.
You're right. I want to get to Sreek and Harold also, but a couple comments from the Justin TV live chat. Monsoon 315 says that, man, is there a back? I'm not sure who's got the background. Okay, I think that's a Sreek. But hang on one sec, Sreek, and then we'll unmute you. Many are on Plus only because of buying an Android phone. They never use the service, though. And then Linda Lawrey says Google should bring back, this is a great idea, Google should bring back real-time just for Google Plus posts. That would show mobile as well. That would be fantastic. Although they would be, I was going to say they'd be accused of abusing but they've been accused of that for a few months now, so who cares? But Sreek, I still don't buy that. I hear all this defensive stuff about, because we're all fans here. I love Google Plus as much as anybody in the room. But is it, I can't think of a better analogy. Is it the Mensa of social networks? I mean, is it just not for everybody? I'm talking to a person with horns on his head.
You're talking about ComScore or
Google Plus? Is it just not for everybody? I know folks who, you know, I know the guy here owns a local junkyard. He's on Facebook. Before that, he was on MySpace. He's absolutely not on Google Plus. My 74-year-old mom signed up, asked me about Google Plus. I don't think she's ever posted anything or really used it. My sister is a marketing guru into social. She was giving a speech today on social networking. I got her to sign up for Google Plus a couple months ago. She basically doesn't use it. She's posted a couple things. She had to give a speech today. She called me last night to ask me for some information about Google Plus, even though she's been on the service for 2 months, not using it. She's giving a speech about social networking. I think I see a lot of people. Almost none of my Facebook friends are actually on the service. I think that as much as I don't like to read this article, I don't necessarily think it's inaccurate.
No, it's easy to explain. It's actually, in my view, it's easy to explain. The problem is the 24 hours a day. situation. That's the problem.
Oleg, what I think is it is true that I don't know whether I should say mainstream. I have like 200 people whom I have circled from my family and friends who has not adapted, as well as I don't know whether they are reading any of my posts. Some of them comment sometimes. There's absolutely no sharing happening. Uh, People who I have in my circles and people who I have, I mean, people who have circled me mostly are people I never knew before, like you guys. So there is clearly a lack of engagement within our, year and year. So I believe that it's gonna take time. It's gonna take some time. We have to just wait. Now the question I have is it really that necessary? That's one point. Another
Do
thing
you mean is Google Plus
I
that
was just
necessary?
is it really that necessary that you should have? It is better for Google Plus to have all your friends and family circle you and vice versa, and that kind of engagement. I'm not really sure anymore. I mean, for me, I don't know that I should say this, but in Facebook, yes, there is a lot of engagement, but I use Facebook Google Plus for an entirely different purpose. That's one thing. Yes, there are, over a period of time, I think that like two or three friends or family members become active. I'm thinking it's going to take maybe a few months, maybe a year, but a lot of people will become active. My home country, I think there is a lot of participation. 16%, 17% of the entire Google Plus population is already from India. And that's one thing. I was just googling, yeah, ComScore. Just Google ComScore wrong. You can see how many companies have complained that ComScore actually has produced wrong results for most of the search. I agree with Peter when he said I didn't know actually that ComScore was not including mobile statistics. That is really surprising because if you are activating 850,000 Android devices in a day, and that's what the latest statistics say,
Yeah,
right?
but whatever methods they're using to analyze Google Plus, they're also using the same methods to analyze Facebook.
Why do you think
Well, that's
so?
not necessarily true.
I don't think
Facebook
that's
has
true at
better
all.
API hooks.
ComScore. I'm talking. What? Go ahead.
Yeah. So
Or
one more thing is what was that? The averaging. If there are 400 people, there are a lot of new people in Google Plus who may not be active at all. One thing is, yes, they may not be publicly sharing, but uh, how do you? It's a new thing. It's just 6 months. You can't 6 months. Can you really say that if you average it out, if there are 500 people new and if they're not really engaged, if you average it out, it might come to 3 minutes. It could be true, but is that really a good measurement? I don't know that.
Dan, the question you asked is different than the one that I think ComScore is trying to address, or that ComScore claims that they're addressing. You're kind of raising the question of there aren't really a lot of different people here, there aren't a lot of new people here, we aren't getting the same kind of crowd as we are in Facebook. And so far that's true, but it's changing. That's different than saying the person who's on service X versus service Y interacts for only 3 minutes versus 28 hours every day.
yeah, the real power
Which,
users
I'm
use
sure.
it hours and hours a day.
Right.
Exactly. That's
know.
exactly why Oleg mentioned that you have like 300
But
comments.
it does not
That's because
surprise me that if you took every single person, all 100 million who have signed up for an account, either voluntarily or they bought an Android phone or however it works, right? Or clicked on the name once. They're in Gmail and they see their name with a plus sign next to it. They click on it. What's this? Okay, cool. And they go out and maybe they clicked on something to join Google Plus, right? So now they're a member and they never use it. So I think if you actually added up all 100 million people and divided all the hours spent among them, it might be 3 minutes a month. Because a lot of people don't use a service, and there's a lot more accounts than actually active users.
Yeah, but that's not an important point. The important point, the question you raised, Dan, was why isn't your sister, who is a marketing executive, as you mentioned, is not using it, even though you've given her account a couple months ago, and so on and so forth.
because
Obviously, she clearly realizes, since she does speeches on social marketing, she realizes the importance of it. But where the deal is, like I said, it's a 24-hour situation. In other words, your sister is probably not the person who's got 7 hours a day where she just sits, does nothing, right? I'm sure she's got life, kids, work, this and that. The day is full, like all of us do. So the question becomes, if you spend any time on one social network, like Facebook, for example, you don't really have any time to go to Google Plus unless there are compelling reasons to switch. You don't have any more hours in a day. So it's not like you can expand your day
I don't think
and now
that,
you have some time
I think it's
dedicated to
about
Google
if you
Plus.
find it interesting and if you feel there's a return on investment. And I love the way you say Facebook.
But to find it interesting,
Facebook.
But to find it interesting, you need to find the time to specifically engage in this, right?
Yeah, but she finds the time
Well,
to
and
engage
you-
in other things. And a very patient Harold. Give me 10 seconds with Anthony here, and go ahead. And then Harold, Anthony, go ahead.
You know, the repetitive argument in support of Google Plus is, where was Facebook 9 months into, being publicly open to everyone? And I can just about guarantee you that they were nowhere near the interaction that Google Plus has when Facebook was, 9 months old. So, you know what? Give Google Plus, Facebook's been open for like 6 years to the public now. Give Google Plus 6 years, and let's see where Google Plus is compared to Facebook.
Okay, and
Absolutely.
let's go to Harold about this story with Google Plus versus Facebook.
Well, if one of the things you really need to look at is if you look at the top users, the top people being followed, like Mariah Carey and Britney Spears and all those people, they spend 2 or 3 minutes a week on this, doing their posts, and that's it. So if you were to grab these top people who just put their names up there and have a lot of people follow them, they're not the engagers. The people that we deal with, the people that we talk with, are on here, I would say 3 to 4 hours a day.
Well, I would agree with that, but I think that's not the point of the article. The point of the article is that on average, the 100 million people, on average, spend 3 minutes a month. And that may very well be accurate.
No, but I think it's as bogus as saying that on average people spend 7 hours on Facebook. I just don't see that being the case. I think that's totally
I think
bogus
7 hours
right
a
there.
month on Facebook is maybe a conservative estimate.
Oh, they said a month or a day?
A month.
It can't be an
It's
average.
a month. It's 3 minutes a month versus 7 hours a month on average.
You see,
You
I
can't
don't
accidentally sign up for
honestly-
Facebook. You can accidentally or inadvertently or very easily sign up for Google Plus and not ever use it, right?
That's
Yeah,
a
but-
very good point. What do you really mean by actual engagement time? I think Alan raised this. If you are actually signed up on Google Plus or Facebook on your mobile device, is that considered to be engagement time? If you actually submit a post from a Wall Street Journal article using a Facebook sign up or your Google Plus sign up, is that considered engagement time, or is that the time you spend on Facebook playing Farmville? I don't know.
I think a lot of people have
They-
just have signed up either on purpose or just wondered why their name had a plus sign in Gmail or in Chrome, and they don't use it, and they're not going to use it, and it's harder to sign up for Facebook that way. Alan, go ahead, and then we got to go.
Sreek's comment actually brought forth an interesting one. Somebody in our Justin TV chat says, "I'm curious how much time people will spend on Facebook now that Zynga has their own website." And that's an excellent point, that Zynga is no longer really seeing the need for Facebook, even though they were quoted in the article as talking about how they were disappointed by the response in Google Plus.
Yeah, I can believe that. I mean, I don't think I think it's a different audience, and I think is Google. My question is Google Plus the Mensa of social networks. I think is interesting comparison.
Dan, just
Yeah.
to add, that also brings us back to the original question of who is an active user. If you look at the Facebook IPO filing, it clearly says that out of the 850 million users, close to 400 million actually doesn't go to the Facebook site. They just use the Facebook login exactly as I said, to put comments, etc. So are you now talking about 400 million users actively using Facebook for 7 hours a month, or the 850 million?
The 850 million,
there's-
if you divide the usage by all the users by 850 million, you get 7 hours a month. The active Facebook people use it a lot more than 7 hours a month. I believe that I do believe this, Sreek, and we got to go. But I do believe that the percentage of people who have a Facebook account who actually use it frequently is dramatically higher than the number of people who have a Google Plus account who use it frequently. And you can tell that by
Possibly
looking
true.
at any
Well,
random 10
because there's more
profiles on
users
either
than
service.
Facebook. I mean, that's a given.
Okay, Peter McDermott, you had a post that made some waves this week.
I made a couple waves.
Well, the first one I want to talk about
this
is,
week or was
the
that last
suggested user list. Maybe it was last week, or right around a week ago.
I think.
But the suggested
Yeah.
user list, you were not a fan. Why don't you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, you know, my thoughts as I get more and more information, this is what I encourage people to do. Have a discussion about something. I mean, don't limit yourself to what you already think. It's so great to sit down, hash things out, and realize there's information you're missing. You can learn more about something if you're willing to talk about it. If you keep those ideas in your head, they're not going to grow. You can't manipulate them, and they'll be set in stone. So once you let them out and talk to people about them, you can mold them around a little bit. So, you know, I did a post about being organic. And, you know, one of the things I have noticed, and I've talked to a lot of people that manage brands here, is that there's a huge unfair advantage to the people that were added on the suggested users list. And the question is, if they remain on the suggested users list, will traditional celebrities ever be able to catch up to them? Now, the reason I'm saying this is because the people on the suggested users list, that's what you're hit with when you first log on, sign up your account. You're given this list of around, I think it's 300 people. I'm not sure how many are on it.
Mm.
So, you know, one of my things was, you know, how are these people chosen, first of all? You know, why were they chosen to be there? But more importantly, why are they given an unfair advantage? With Search Plus Your World, every time they share something or plus one something, that's going to augment the search experience for anybody following them. So, you know, 1 million people isn't a lot of people when you look at the global population on the internet. But when you look in terms of savvy consumers searching for things on Google, those are going to be the 1 million people following Robert Scoble, following Mike Elgin, following, you know, some of the people on that list. So my thought was they're kind of given an unfair advantage in terms of search because, you know, whatever they decide to vet, that's going to be promoted to people that have Search Plus Your World turned on. So, you know, the argument went back and forth. The post, which had tremendous response, 56 shares, 188 comments, never actually made it to the What's Hot list. And that brought me to another topic. But it was an interesting discussion. I'm sorry?
It didn't have a cat, that's why.
Yeah, it didn't have a cat. That must be exactly.
Okay, well,
why.
let me ask you this, Peter. Doesn't you share circles? Let me be devil's advocate here. You share circles of people who engage or people you like or blah, blah, blah. You have a right to share, to put anybody you want in that circle. Doesn't Google have a right to suggest who they want to suggest? It's not democratic. It's who Google recommends.
Well, and that's kind of where I ended up. This is Google's space. This is Google's sandbox. We just got invited to come in and play. So, you know, my thing is what I always tell people, you know, in my job is if you're going to complain about something, have a solution. And, you know, I kind of had a halfway solution. And I see a lot of people complain, oh, this is terrible, this is dumb. You know, one of the solutions I came up with is, you know, it should be more democratic or at least cycle through it so these people don't have a stagnant advantage. But, you know, Twitter and Facebook do the same thing. So is Google any different for doing this? No. Do they have the right to choose? Of course they have the right to choose. It's their network. But, you know, I was trying to play devil's advocate.
We get to this issue of do they have a right to choose a lot? And it comes up on the show every couple of weeks. And I think all of us tend to agree, yeah, of course, Google has a right to choose, and, you know, it's their service and they can do what they want. I think what distinguishes the What's Hot list, sorry, the suggested user list from just about anything else that Google's done in the past is that it looks like it's manually curated. That it looks like there is somebody somewhere who has picked up a bunch of names and have blessed these names. And in the past, Google has been very, very staunch about how decisions that were made to put things at the top of the search list, to choose what advertisements were made, to, you know, pretty much anything that was done ends up being done for two things. One, it's being done using an algorithm, so there's no person somewhere saying, oh, hey, I want this person higher on the search results than someone else. And two, a lot of what they've done have been mutually beneficial to everybody. So when they rolled out their new form of advertising, that was beneficial to Google, it was beneficial to people who were doing the advertising, and it was beneficial to people who were placing the advertisements on their page. The suggested user list, it's not as clear that it's as beneficial to everyone.
It's not designed for that. I don't think. And I'm not on it, okay? Basically,
Well,
everybody
and
who's
Dan,
on
that's
it
my
has
point.
500,000 followers, more or
Or
less,
more.
right? A quarter
Or more,
million to
yep.
a million. Everybody who's not on it has 200 to 30,000 followers. So it's a big difference. But I could tell you, we have quality, they have quality and quantity. In other words, if you look at the actual engagement, and Linda was on the show in the past. She's got, I don't know, close to 1 million followers. If you look at the actual engagement, Sarah Hill was on the show. She's got close to 1 million followers. Mike Elgin. If you look at the number of quality comments on their posts versus hi from our international friends, you'll find it's not that different. Once you get to a few thousand, then you'll find that you basically got a quality engagement. Anybody who follows me because they're interested in what I do or what I'm saying. Same thing with all you guys, right? It isn't some billboard that was up there and they did it because everyone else is doing it. It's not easy necessarily to find us. They find us because we share a post that they're interested in, or blah, blah, blah. But really, like I said, we have quantity. I mean, we have quality and they have quality too, but they also have a bunch of quantity that they have to deal with, and it's a real hassle. Yeah, would I turn it down? No, if they wanted to put me on there. But I don't think I'm really losing much, and I don't think it really impacts, because I think it's a bunch of spam accounts. It's a bunch of folks who don't speak English. It's a bunch of BS accounts, whatever. And
How many minutes a month do you think the spam accounts are logged in for?
I don't know. I would say 2 minutes.
Well, and that's another thing that's going to hurt these statistics. If you're talking total number of accounts, and you have spam accounts that are either bot driven or only come in from time to time to do big blast posts, I mean, they're going to be on 1 minute a month maybe, and that would skew it depending on what percentage of accounts here are fake or.
So I want to know where you ended up, Peter.
Let
me ask Peter where you ended up, because you're being diplomatic now, but you were straight up.
Of course, I'm being diplomatic. I'm in an on-air
you were
hangout.
pissed off in your post, straight up. I mean, you were like, this has to end. This is unfair. You said, this impacts your ability to build your brand or make money or whatever. But the bottom line is, as much as it sucks if you want to be on the list and you're not on the list. Okay, that sucks. But really, the bottom line
like going
is,
to a nightclub.
It's like if you wrote a book, and Oprah chose not to put you in her book club. Can you bitch about it? You know what I mean? I mean, it's her book club. It's her recommended user list. And I shouldn't say that word. I apologize. But can you fuss about that? Is that fair? Is that it's their recommended list? It does have an impact, and it's a good comparison to Oprah's book club, because that can make or break an author. In fact, they made it eventually. I think they would sort of give them a heads up so they could secretly stock more books everywhere, because all the bookstores are running out of the books as soon as you mention them. 10 minutes later, they're sold out.
That's a microcosm. You're talking about one piece of communication. You're talking about that one book. Where the unfair advantage lies in here is you're not talking about one piece of communication. You're talking about permission marketing, where these people are giving permission to whoever Google suggests to share an advertisement with them every minute. And that advertisement doesn't have to be, an Amazon affiliate link. It doesn't have to be, hey, go buy this. It doesn't have to be, hey, I use OpenDNS. You should use OpenDNS too. It could just be, hey, this is my name and this is my content. Retain my name. Look at my content. Enjoy my content. Retain my name.
Yeah, but you know what? If you were on Oprah's list, that's probably worth $1 million. I'm going to ask Linda, how much money has she made from being on this? I bet she'll say that, and $2 will give her a cup of coffee. As far as tangible benefits, I hear what you're saying. I mean, go ahead.
Well, the thing, Dan, is we're talking about the people on the suggested users list, and there's some great people on there. Don't get me wrong, but there is some really dead air there. And one wonders if they've set up these accounts and added these people to the list because the Celebrity X may have been an naysayer. Their publicist said, no, we're not getting into that. There's not enough people there. We'll look like buffoons if we get on there. So that they log on 6 months later and see they've 3.5 million people following them and say, wow, how did that happen? Well, Google says, well, this is a network. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, people have this person circled and have forgotten about it, and they start showing up, But then there's a lot of space where it's just dead air or it's irrelevant content. So what deems who goes into what category? There's somebody in a technology category that is very technology oriented, but their posts are not. So should they be in the tech category or the category that defines the content that they share? I don't know where to land on that.
Why do you think
But
that
the
they
bottom
have
line
the list?
is
why do you
I'm sorry?
think that they have the list? Why does the list exist? What
they
purpose
have the list
does it
because everybody
serve?
has a list.
What purpose?
Everybody
that's
has a list.
that's not fair. What?
Well, Dan, if you come in here, it's a marketing strategy. First of all, it's hey, look who's on here. Britney Spears is on here. Like you
exactly.
Britney
It's
Spears
for brand new users who first
No,
sign
Dan,
up to discover
Dan,
Britney Spears and whatever influential
Peter's
people.
right. They introduced this because everyone else has already introduced it. This is one of their spaghetti on the wall techniques. They didn't know what they were doing. They threw spaghetti on the wall. They're trying to see if it sticks. It sort of looks like it's sticking, or at least it's getting enough attention.
I disagree,
So they're
Alan.
gonna
I think
keep
it's
it in-
related to our first topic that millions and millions, tens of millions of people are signing up for the service, and they don't find
And don't know
anything
who to follow.
interesting. They're like, well, this is boring. I don't know what the hell this is. And so the end result is they don't use it. But now we got Britney
The
Spears.
problem is
would be-
that they
I
pick
think
some
it
you
pretty
would be a
know,
lot-
lousy
if we can get
users.
I think
Justin
what would be a
Bieber,
lot
look
more
how many
relevant.
more we'll get.
I think what would be a lot more relevant is if what they did initially, instead of following Facebook and Twitter and doing these lists that basically are bogus in many ways, not all of them, like Peter said, but most of them are, and being static instead of being something really relevant. What would be a lot smarter for them to do is to come up with a list of topics or categories that most people are interested in, have people choose, and then do a search automatically and come back with users who talk about those topics and offer those people as suggested users. That would be much, much smarter than coming up and show Britney Spears to everybody.
Right,
So you can
and that's a great idea too. They started out here with the Sparks ability where you could add Sparks to your account, which was what are you interested in? Now whatever you typed in is still there. You can't add them, you can't access them. But if you were able to, somehow have somebody vet your content that it actually confirms that. I mean, it could be as simple as, putting an interaction at the bottom of the post this is categorized as knitting. Is this a knitting post? And then once people get vetted,
We're talking about initial deal, Peter. When you get in, you're a brand new user, you don't know what to do or how to do.
I agree with that, but what I'm saying is people would have to be vetted that their content. Let's step back before you even log in, right? So we have all these people here and they're posting content. Well, we
Right.
want to start categorizing the content so that we can create sparks so that when people sign up, we can let them pick people based on what they're interested in. So what I'm saying is every time you do a post, you get to categorize it in either one or two things. What it is, this sounds complicated, but it's not. And especially
It's
for
not,
people
but at
with
the
big
same time, it's overly, there's too much work involved. I'm talking about keeping it simple, they're doing now, and I'm just simply suggesting, you can even have people type in a search or whatever they're interested in. Forget about categories or giving them something static. You can just type in whatever you're looking to or you're interested in. And they can type in, music, Dave Weckl, jazz rock, whatever.
The
And then
problem
when
with
they type it in,
that, Oleg, is that people don't always know what they're interested in and they start typing in garbage. Having something that's grouped by categories guides them along. What they really need is an easier way to guide people into how to use Google+. Just throwing a bunch of suggested users, not all of whom actually post anything, is not a great way to get people started.
Alan. No, I disagree. First of all, don't make people that dumb. Most of them are not that dumb, that they don't know what they're interested in. I mean, come on.
No, I think people know what they're interested in, but I think, if you're faced with, okay, tell me everything about yourself right
Not
now,
everything.
and I'm
Just
going to give you a bunch
type
of
in a
users.
word or phrase of things you're interested in. And when they type it in, then they will go and do a search for people who post about that particular topic, number one. Number two, that actually have posts. And then they suggest that user as one of the users you may want to add. That's all.
I think you're on the right track. And I think you're on the right track by linking it to search. And I think this is kind of where they tried to go with Search Plus Your World, and maybe if they can do it a little bit better, it might be better. That from every Google search, they say, hey, there are people talking about this on Google+, go join them. And starting your Google+ experience from interacting through a search stream, through a search stream, might be the better way to do it than try to associate it with people. I'm agreeing with you, Oleg. I just don't think that associating, that trying to get people started by talking to a bunch of names is the best way to get people started.
I agree. That's why you deal with relevant topics, not with names, and then based on those topics, you come up with names for people.
All right, let me look at our chat. We got some good stuff here because I brought up Linda as an example, comparing. I compared the suggested user list to Oprah's book club in that it's Google's right to choose who's on it, I guess. Or unless they want it, maybe they come up with a committee to select. I don't know.
Well,
but
Dan, it's my right to go to a bad restaurant, but it's also my friend's right to say, hey, that restaurant's terrible.
oh, you have absolutely
You should check out these other
absolutely
restaurants in town.
every right to criticize
Actually,
it.
Dan-
You know, I'm just trying to get to it, and I'm saying that I don't know how they choose it. Maybe it should be more transparent. I'm just saying that I think the purpose of the list is related to our first point that the Wall Street Journal unfortunately pointed out. This ComScore thing that said that on average, if you take all the accounts together and the amount of time active on Google Plus, it's 3 minutes a month per person compared to 7 hours per month for Facebook users. Now, we both know that an active Facebook user spends far more than 7 hours a month, and an active Google Plus user probably spends far more than 3 minutes a month. I mean, obviously. So what it is, it tells you that there are more BS accounts on Google Plus than there are BS accounts on Facebook. Because I think that that's absolutely the case. Because I know that the Facebook page, if you take any random Facebook profiles, take 100 of them, take any 100 random Google Plus profiles, you're going to see a lot more activity on the Facebook, even if you're just looking at public stuff on the Facebook versus the Google Plus. And I think there's lots and lots of people who even circle me, and I look, and most of them have 1 or 2 posts. And it's even worse with the suggested user people, because they get about like 50,000 a week adding them, and they get all these crazy ads. You know, a lot of them have the same pictures, or you know, it's a picture of Brad Pitt or whatever, and they're about pages.
Well, Dan, you're talking about fake accounts. You have to remember about the incidental accounts. You have to remember the people that have the Gmail, that have the other Google products, that logged in one day and said, hey, complete your profile. Complete my profile. I don't want to complete my profile.
Right.
Well, you have to complete your profile. We're telling you, you have to complete your profile. Bam, they're on Google Plus. I don't want anything to do with Google Plus. I'm going to continue using Gmail, Google Maps, Images, YouTube, all the other services I use here, but I don't want to have anything to do with
now
Google
you
Plus.
count.
No, Peter,
Now
So
you're
they're
a
not
user.
spam accounts, they're incidental
Now you're
accounts.
one of the 100 million, right? And,
exactly. You're
And,
part of
and
the
you
army.
who don't use it at all are diminishing that down to 3 minutes.
The spec, yeah. But let me ask you a question, Dan. Quick question. Since you know Linda really well, and she's not here, you still haven't gotten her the camera. But anyway, what I wanted to ask was, how did she get to so many users? She's no Britney Spears in terms of celebrity status or anything, but yet she did.
She is.
Have you ever talked
she
to
was
her?
very active. Well, she's on the suggested user list, which is.
No, but how did she get
She
to
knows.
that point?
I think she knows them, and she was a very, very active on Google. What's the? Oh my gosh,
Buzz?
yeah, Google Buzz. She was very, very active on Google Buzz. Very well-known person. And so when this started out, she was an early adopter.
Okay, so she's the perfect example of somebody who actively does something to get into this higher range, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, basically. By doing it this way, that's how she got to be what she got. You don't need to be Britney Spears, in other words. But if you're sitting there doing nothing, expecting a bunch of people to follow you, it's not going to happen. I mean, that's to me, that's how the point of that particular.
All right, I'm going to
story
read a couple comments here, and then we should probably go on to the other topic that Peter mentioned, so we don't have a 6-hour show, because we'll use up like 10 years of everyone's 3 minutes with this one show if we're not careful. But Linda, I'd love for you to come in and and defend your honor. No, I'd love to come in, even if you don't have your camera on, if you just come in voice, if you want to hook it up to talk about this as someone who's on the suggested user list. I can tell you that everyone is on the list. Elgin, Sarah, Linda, Chris Perillo, everyone who's been on the show who was on the list, they've all been among our best guests, the most interesting people. And I remember I delighted watching Oleg get into it with Perillo. They were both having playful fun, but it was great.
It's only because we both live in Seattle.
It was great. Okay, so let me just look at a couple of these things that and Linda made a prescient observation. She said that she's like she's the Walmart greeter, but I still think Google has a right to make their list. It's their, it's their Google suggested user list. So Google suggests these people, and that's who they suggest. It's labeled as such, and the purpose for it is not because.
But listen, Dan, if you're gonna tie this to the first part of the show, then basically what it means is means that this list is useless if the statistics are accurate, which I don't think they are. That means that their strategy for this list is bogus, because they're not getting users to stick around with this list, is what I'm trying to say. If you're going to tie it together.
I think I think Google Plus is difficult to figure out for some people, more so than Facebook.
Oleg says it doesn't work.
I think that I know people who, frankly, would never figure out Google Plus, but they use Facebook every day, all day on their phone, and they loll at each other's pics and all that crap. And God bless them, they're my friends, but they would never get Google Plus. I wouldn't even suggest it to them because they would just stare at me blankly, like, "Well, what's not in terms of money, but what is my return on investment? You know, why am I going to waste my time on this?" Any more than they would dismiss it as quickly as Oleg would dismiss some stupid game, or some new feature or a halo on his head, which is beyond ironic. Okay, so anyway, let me look at this because we got a lot of comments here real quick. Just some of the Linda said, I'm like the Walmart greeter, being on the suggested user. That's it. And she said she hasn't made a dime from it. It hasn't been worth anything except she has more people and more of a hassle.
Right.
And sure, sometimes she'll do a post and there's definitely a greater opportunity for that post to go viral if it's good than if someone who has 5 followers writes this brilliant thing. Nobody's going to know because it's the tree that fell in the forest that nobody heard. So there are benefits for people who care about that stuff, right? And obviously all of us, when we do have a brilliant observation, want people to know, like, boy, that was good. I want people to know this. Well, it's easier for that to occur if you're on the suggested user list and you have 1 million followers than if you're, some guy with 7 followers. So that's clear. But then there's a bunch of comments here. Linda, without a suggested user list for people to choose from, they would have nothing in their stream when they first come there. That's the thing, because that's the way it works. You have nothing in your stream. So they suggest,
but I think
circle Britney Spears, circle Mike Elgin.
I think this. Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is where Oleg's point is much more telling, and his is that starting from the aspect of, well, you need to find people in order to circle them and listen to them, is the wrong way to approach it. The right way to approach it would have been, you need to find topics to start following, and you can follow them now through your search. And once you start following topics, you start seeing people that you may want to follow. That to me seems like a much, much better approach to things.
Well, and that's what I got upset with, Alan, when they abandoned the Sparks idea, and that's what I was trying to talk about before. If there was some way to vet yourself in a certain Spark by people either thumbs up or thumbs down, is this guy relevant to technology? If they're all thumbs down, then I wouldn't show up for that search. But if you had Sparks attached to your profile and people search for Sparks, it would show the most relevant people in those Sparks. And you could create a Spark for anything. It'd be just like Schemer. It's just an open relational database where you can type in any keyword you want. If it's already taken, you join what's already taken. So if it's a popular word like technology, then there you are,
Well, I think the approach that they've got now, where you can search for anything, and now since we can start a conversation from a search result, that seems like a brilliant way to keep things going. And I think that's something that now they should be more encouraging of than just following people.
Why can't they have Google search directly integrated in Google Plus? Why
Well,
just
they do.
Well, they could, but it's a chicken and an egg thing. You cannot expect people to go into search to then put people in Google Plus because they're just signing up for Google Plus.
Oh,
So-
no, not just for adding people. Right now you actually go out of Google Plus, you probably search something, you find a topic, you copy that link and share it, or share it directly from the search from outside. Now, what I'm saying is, if you look at the search field in Google Plus, you're only searching inside Google Plus, right?
Right.
What if you have an option there? I asked this to Yanadhan Sungar, the chief architect of Google, long back. He said it's a design issue. I don't know what he meant. If you actually can search, if you can show Google actual search results within Google Plus, you can directly search for people. You can directly search for somebody who has shared something and circle him there itself.
Well, yeah, that was my point. Is the searching done you do a search based on whatever you're interested in, and based on that search, it comes up with people who have more content for what you're looking for, number one. Number two, the content is there. It's going to be nobody with people that, and you can maybe give you an option that basically, or automatically do it, where it doesn't show anybody who don't have a profile filled out. If you don't have a profile, you don't get into that list, which will encourage people to do profiles, and it's going to be more relevant that way as well.
But what I agree with what Peter said. Instead of trying to follow people who have been suggested, it should be. I don't know how it is now when you sign up on Google Plus, whether they give you a list of people based on, which area they are
Yeah,
good
there's
at.
few categories. They give you and the number of people in each category. That's how they do it now.
That's not a.
You can see what they get now by going to the Find People link on the right-hand side of your stream. That's exactly
Okay,
what
we're gonna
users
get.
see now.
I'm gonna get hit again because we're already like an hour and we're on the second topic. We gotta,
All right, next.
it's time. I'm gonna call time. I'm gonna call time.
Okay, let me
Last
say one
thing,
thing.
Peter, and
let
then
me
we're
say
going
one
to your
thing.
second. Your other. We're
one
gonna go to your
thing.
second
so
rant
I
next.
just looked
Go
through the
ahead,
list.
Peter.
With the exception of Sergey Brim, everyone on all topics has posted within the last 72 hours, which was not something we were seeing weeks and months before.
Well, I think they're okay.
So are they being held to a standard?
So okay,
But we'll move on to the next topic.
yeah.
and let you
The
have
end
that
thing
set up.
is, all of us agree the suggested user list is a fantastic thing and well managed, and very
Should be changed,
transparent.
Yeah. Linda is here. Let's see what Linda.
All right. And Linda has just joined us. And let me see if Linda Lawrey's here. And I see they finally fixed the thing where we could. Oh, well, she just left. If she comes back, we'll get her to come back. I guess she's fixing something. Okay. Peter, your second rant was, I mean, your second devil's advocate post, or however you referred to it prior, was about the What's Hot list.
Yes.
Do tell.
Well, there's been some controversy as to whether or not the What's Hot list is being moderated.
I think it is.
And once again, we're talking about a list that has controls. Of
course it is. Because like you've had
But
stuff that has
according-
150 shares, I have, and it's not on there, and other things that have 6 shares,
Do you guys really think there is somebody going through this going, ooh, that's good, Cliff?
I think it absolutely is
There's
because
a
they're
good
going
one,
to
Cliff.
think.
Yes.
Yes, they
There
absolutely
is.
are because that's how they suck. They're
I don't. This is Google. They're the king of algorithms.
No,
I think they've
no,
got
no,
an
no, no.
algorithm that's far more complex than we mere mortals
No,
can figure
see,
out.
Well,
the
let me tell
problem
you,
is the
Alan. Let me tell you.
Muppets did not save Google Plus, so now they're relying on the What's Hot list, and so they are moderating it.
So you're saying a Muppet is controlling the What's Hot list? Is that what you're
Oleg
saying?
is secretly in charge. Peter, what is your? Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say is, I've been participating in a lot of comments after I've done my 2 rant posts. I've calmed down. We were participating in some comment threads last night, and one of the community managers came up, and I'm gonna paraphrase what she said. I can't directly quote it because I don't have that post open right now. I would love it if I did. But yes, Google uses an algorithm to listen to what's happening. It was not implied that this algorithm determines exactly what goes into that list, exactly what's propagated in there. And there is concrete evidence that shows things that have higher interaction, either in terms of +1s, shares, or comments, in a condensed period of time, during the time of the refresh of the What's Hot list. We've seen a lot of stuff have a lot more interaction than things currently on the list. So if you're talking about terms of interaction, that's got nothing to do with the algorithm. Now, does the algorithm take into account volume? And can there be a point where somebody sitting that moderates? Of course, you have to moderate the list. I mean, if there's objectionable content going up there, Google hating stuff going up there all the time, they wouldn't allow that. I mean, you'd be stupid.
Yeah,
to do that.
they're clearly
So,
moderating it. Absolutely, 100% clearly moderating it and this is the same thing. Their problem. There are some people who hate Google Plus. Okay, and there are people who absolutely love it, and everyone in the room loves it. But the people who are stumbling on the fence or make every day hundreds of thousands of people look at it, maybe millions, and make a decision whether or not this is interesting and whether I should click on this or spend 10 minutes and get hooked, right? They're trying to capture those people. That's the purpose of the suggested user list. That's the purpose of the What's Hot list. And they're looking for things that will appeal to the non-traditional Google Plus user. Just like when I do a newspaper cover, I'm not going to put the council meeting real big unless, they've thrown a pie in the mayor's face or something. But if there's an interesting eagle that flew over or a kid that, whatever, that's the kind of stuff I'll put because I'm trying to get the non-traditional person to pick the newspaper up because I know the political junkie's going to read it. They know a tech junkie's going to be on Google Plus and be active. But what they're trying to do is get these Facebook people. And that's the reason for some of these wonderful cat gifts that Oleg, always makes sure to mention me when he posts. But that's what they're trying to do. and that's the whole point of this. This is marketing to try to fix that 3-minute problem that is real, because most people sign up inadvertently or intentionally, and they don't get it. I don't know. I mean, it's too complicated, or there's nothing interesting, or it isn't designed well for them, or whatever. Those of us who get it love it, and it's great.
Well, the Britney Spears deal is bogus anyway, because if you follow Britney Spears, you're not going to get anything back anyway that's anything meaningful. So unless you're totally in love with Britney Spears, following her does nothing for you to get into engagement on Google+. That's what I would say.
That's the word. That's the word. That's the word right there, is interaction. And if you're following people, on a list, you're not going to get interaction from those content creators. So that may be a turnoff when you first come here. You're not going to have your friends from school here. Your mom and dad aren't going to be here. So when you see somebody's post and say, "Hey, author," you plus mention the author because you figured out how to do that. This is a great article. That jackwagon never commented back on my comment, and I told him he wrote a nice article. Well, he doesn't have time to, because he gets 99 mentions every minute because he's got 1 million followers.
Right.
So one thing I just noticed, somebody pointed this out, is we categorize people in circles. Circles are round. They are equal. A list is not a circle. A list has priorities, things at the top and things at the bottom. They're two different things. And I guess if we look at it like that, I just had an epiphany. It makes a little more sense.
Well, Dan, one of the things that I've noticed, I just went through the What's Hot list, and we have complained to them about the animated GIFs. I went through the top 100 entries on What's Hot, and there is not one single animated GIF there today.
What's wrong with it if it is indeed hot? It should be what's actually hot, right? It shouldn't be Google's recommendations among the things that are hot. That's what they should call it, right? They shouldn't say it's what's hot.
Well, we don't know what the algorithm is, so it's hard
I mean, like,
to say.
you could have Brandon.
Dan and Peter are saying there is no algorithm, that it's people sitting there throwing darts
No,
at
you
it.
could have, like Peter's post, Peter's
rant.
rant about the suggested user list might have been probably for an hour or so was probably the hottest thing on Google+. But it wasn't on the What's Hot
and then
list.
last night, last night I had the most interactive post on Google+, which never even made it to the bottom of the list because it was criticizing the What's Hot list. Right now I've just shared this circle from that post, which was a contest that said, hey, What's Hot is kind of controversial. If you want to meet some people to interact with, then comment and share this post, and I'll include you in a circle share.
Yeah,
slot.
at least.
So right now I have that circle, and it's trending because it's got 24 plus ones, 15 shares, and 18 comments. The interesting thing is going to be, is that going to be moderated away from the What's Hot list because it's kind of critical of What's Hot.
At least the recommended user list is accurately named. At least the recommended user list is accurately named, unlike the What's Hot list, because it's not really. It's
a list.
It's not the
circle.
What's Hot list. It's Google's recommendations among the things that are currently hot on Google, or were yesterday. Linda, what's up?
Hi.
I can hear you, and you have the awful static as usual, but it's great to have you with us.
I'm sorry. This is a different headset.
And you are have you moved yet? I know you're getting ready to move from.
No, we haven't moved yet. We probably won't move for a couple more weeks. I just went to the liquor store today to make sure I could round up some boxes.
Sure, that's why. And then I bumped into you there, and I was also looking for boxes. I'm kidding. Okay, so tell me, Linda, my beloved Linda, who's on the suggested user list, tell us. You've been listening to this. Give us your thoughts on this. You're on it. You've got close to 1 million followers. That and $3 will get you a cup of coffee at 7-Eleven in the real world. Is it fair? I mean, for people who are like, I'm not on it, I should be on it. That viewpoint, or it's unfair that the way they do it is not transparent how they choose. What are your thoughts?
There are more disadvantages than there are advantages. There is a burden in being on it because what you are, like I said in the little chat box on Justin, is you are the Walmart greeter. You're setting an example for other people to see what to post, how to post it, how videos show up, how pictures show up. You're an example that's going to show up in their stream. But one thing they've done with the suggested user list now that wasn't there initially, and it's a great thing, and it has slowed down the number of people that have circled me now coming through there, is they give a sampling of what, you click name and see what their posts are and look through what is it they're posting about, so that people are being choosier coming in, because not everyone is jumping on my bandwagon anymore. So I saw that difference the minute they changed the design for it. But it is, there are many, you know, the disadvantage, you see it in my stream what the disadvantage, well, the things you don't see is the spam that's now grayed out.
Linda, you can understand the
there's a ton
frustration,
of
right?
that will
You can
happen.
understand the frustration.
I'm sorry.
You can understand the frustration. Like Peter has worked since July to get the number of followers that you get in a slow week, right? How many do you get a week? How many circle you in a week?
Whoa, I don't know, because I get more than what I see in my drop-down notification. I just, you know, whatever shows up in the notifications, I'll scan through them, but I don't get all my notifications because I get so many. I really couldn't tell you how many. I don't get, like, there was a big surge when, you know, initially when it first opened to the public, you know, and before there was a suggested user list. I had a big surge then. Everybody did, I think, when it opened up to the public. And people were recommending me, and I was recommending other circles, and that's people in circles, and that sort of thing. But I couldn't tell you. It is nothing like it was. They're being choosy, except for the people that don't care, and they are not a valuable commodity to even someone who's monetized. It's the ones that care that are going to be the
Linda, your audio is straight up bad. I think
we may have lost her. I can understand what she's getting to say is I think the perception she has is the people that they're choosing are people that are clearly not trying to monetize this. And what you'll notice, and again, this is me making assumptions, is all of a sudden now there's a lot of brands in the suggested users list, and they are at the top of the categories. So maybe there's a non-compete agreement when these brands pay money to be on the What's Hot list, or maybe not. You know,
do we know that
that's
someone's
not
paying to be on the What's Hot list? Because that's an allegation there, Peter. I mean, do we?
Okay, now wait a minute. This is incredible. Somebody just commented on last night's post that was not on the What's Hot list, and all of a sudden last night's post is in the middle of the What's Hot list.
Yes.
So I think perhaps
you're,
somebody took my mute button off.
I think you're paranoid. I saw your What's Hot list show up when you linked to your new your published circles. That's the last post that I saw on there when it showed up in the What's Hot list. I think you're overly paranoid, and I think my connection just died as well.
No, you're still here with us.
Oh, I'm still here. Okay.
I think Linda should be careful about things that she says, though, because Dan made a couple of comments today which were very telling. He said, "I'm not on that list, and I should be." He said it several times. "I'm not on that list, and I should be." And Linda saying that she's got zillion people and more coming in all the time, it's like sticking a knife in the shoulder and twisting it.
I never said that. What are you talking about?
Well, you said, "I'm not on that list," but
I never said that. Are you confusing me?
I don't have anywhere near. I can get a zillion people.
Oleg,
now.
I've never said that. What are you talking about?
You said, "I'm not on that list, and I should be."
never said I should be.
What are you talking about?
I never said I should
Guys,
be.
did he say that or
No,
not?
I did not say it.
No, he was referencing kind of the zeitgeist where people feel that they should, and that's an argument. That's
Yeah, no. I could care less. I don't care. I mean, I don't think I should be on the. I mean, I've never ever said that. I just said I wasn't on the list. In other words, what I was doing was I was defending the list, and I made a point that I wasn't on it, so people wouldn't think that I was only defending it because I was on the list. I'm not on the list. That's the only reason I mentioned that. I could care less. Your daughter is so much more adorable than you are, even though you have a halo on your head.
Okay, let's do Let's do a quick deal with my daughter because I'm gonna have to peel soon. So we're gonna do a little experiment here. So what I'd like you to do is Dan, pick one of the people in the audience.
Okay. Pick any person at random. Okay, I'll pick our Linda.
Linda, could you do me a favor? Do you have a calendar handy?
Do I have a calendar handy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have my glasses on. Hold on.
Okay, then pick somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah, pick somebody else.
Harold. Let's get Harold in there.
Yes.
Or Peter
Yes, I
or
have a
somebody.
calendar
I don't know.
right in front of me.
Okay. Grab a calendar for 2014 or 2015 and pick a single date. What a date of your choice. Just tell
April
us what the
28th.
date is.
April 28th.
Which one?
April 28th.
Which year?
2014.
2014, April 20th. What day of the week it is?
Monday.
Is it Monday, Harold?
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Now let's throw it to somebody else. How about Peter? Peter, why don't you pick a date?
Let's go with January 29th, 2014.
What day is that, Mom?
Wednesday.
Is that Wednesday, Peter?
That's creepy.
Is it pretty incredible or what? See, she's not only better looking, she's also a lot smarter than me. Anyway,
How does she?
That's my little.
Is she memorized like a couple years, or is she one of those?
Yeah, can you memorize a couple of years for the
Is she
calendar?
one of those 60 Minutes kids?
She is, unfortunately. In other areas, unfortunately so, but in this area, it's pretty amazing.
Good for you,
Anyway.
sweetheart.
Yeah.
But how did she
I
do
see
that?
the halo is just switched.
She's got photographic memory.
Wow.
How
Yeah.
cool.
Anyway, that's my little special experiment for today. I wanted to share with you
Awesome.
guys because we just found out about it. It's like, wow, I can't do this.
How neat. Okay. All right. So what we got next? Blah, blah, blah. Got spam. Now it's more hidden. Alan, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, they made a brief change, a simple little change in the comments, in how comments are displayed underneath every post. Previously, if there was a comment that they detected as spam, they kind of graded out. Only you could see it, and then you could unflag it as not spam. Now they're going one step further, and instead of graying it out, they've essentially collapsed all of the spam comments under a link, and neither you nor anybody else will see them unless you specifically take an action to look at the spam and weed through it. But the reports I'm getting for the most part are that the algorithm they're using is pretty good. Most people aren't even bothering to unflag comments that get posted that are not what they're looking for. And in general, it seems to be a pretty good tool that makes lives a lot easier on people who get an awful lot of comments. I don't know, Peter, how many comments do you get, and have you seen this a lot, or Linda?
I don't get a lot of spam on my comments.
Okay, well, lucky you. I don't know. I mean, I never saw it as much of a problem myself. I think I've seen spam on exactly twice, but
Yeah, I agree. I don't get much spam either, so it's not really any great feature for me either.
But I've heard a lot of people who do get a lot of spam say that it's been very beneficial to them, and we lost Linda, so we can't get her perspective on it. Dan seems to have disappeared for a moment, so let's move on to the next topic. There's been a number of improvements with the Google Plus button the +1 button that you can see on external websites, and on the badge that people can place on websites that'll direct people to Google Plus. The first big one is one that people have been asking about a lot, and that's personal badges. Previously on websites, they were able to create a badge that says, follow me on Google Plus, or follow this page on Google Plus, and it'll let them immediately add that page. Now they're making it so that people can place their own profile, place a badge to their own profile on their personal website or their personal blog or whatever they want, and this will let people immediately add them from one of the from your own page. I don't know, Peter, have you taken a look at the badge yet?
The personal badge, I saw the release. I haven't had time to play with it. I was uploading an interview I did, and I've been meaning to. There's so many things I'm working on.
Do you have a badge to your page?
Well, I used the button on my website because I was kind of upset they didn't have the badge for personal accounts. So I was, one of the things I had suggested is, hey, why do we only have the widget for, I have the badge, but not the widget that shows how many people have me circled, where you can just directly click to add me to the circles. All I have is a badge which takes you to my profile. But yeah, that frictionless adding, that's what I'm excited to do. So I will have to take a look at that. I apologize, I haven't had time.
No, that's it. And speaking of frictionless, it's not quite frictionless, but I think they even made a change to the badge that's used for pages now, so that by default, if somebody clicks on it, it immediately adds the page to the following circle, as opposed to letting you have to pick a circle. I guess they were either realizing people were getting confused by it, or just went and decided that people were going to follow you anyway, so they might as well save a step.
And also they've changed the sharing, so it's now one click. You used to have to click on +1 and then share. Now it's automatically opening the share window without you clicking twice, which is also kind of a nicer, faster, easier deal.
Yeah, I think they're trying to make it faster and easier, not
Right.
quite the frictionless that we're seeing over on Facebook, which means you automatically get shared no matter what you do.
Right.
But I think these are good steps to make things easier. I think people can intuitively understand them. So I think it's a good next step. And Peter, try it. It took me a whole 30 seconds to add my personal badge.
I definitely will, and I'll have that up on the website by the end of the night. I encourage you guys to visit the website if you haven't yet.
Yeah.
Is it which
We
website is it,
we subscribe to your channel also.
Oh,
Peter,
excellent.
what's the website URL?
It's ironically petergmcdermott.com.
.com, okay.
That's a G, right?
G.
As in,
As in Google Plus.
you could say that, or my middle name.
Yeah.
So
Okay, looks like Dan disappeared.
yeah, we're not quite sure where he went to. He's left us with a green screen, so we're going to press on without him, even though it's his show.
Yeah, I think Dan's actually doing a field report right now. He's waiting for the uplink truck.
Oh, here he is. There he is.
That or he went to get rid of some stink bugs.
I apologize.
Well, Peter, you were asking a question on how many followers these people get who are on the list. If you'll notice that some of these people are getting 14,000 a day new followers that are on that list.
Yeah, and you can see where that can be distracting, especially for content creators that are trying to build their brand. But at the same time, it does kind of level the playing field. The more and more I look back at this, it's just very interesting because there's things about it that are inherently bad, but there's a couple things that do make a little bit of sense. So if we have this like core group of a couple hundred people that are, at the top of their scale, and some of them should be anyway. I mean, Britney Spears would organically have that many. In the future, they're trying to pump it up now because the adoption's been slow. But, if they only keep it to those people, and those people have, tenfold more followers than anybody else is ever going to be able to reach, and that was one of the arguments I made that I was upset about, is nobody's going to be able to catch up to these people organically. They're not, unless... I don't know, unless they become the president.
But don't
they're
you
not
have
going to be able to catch up.
don't you have a core?
I've been on for 7 months, and I have 9,000 followers, and people get 14,000 in a day.
Yeah, but it's quantity over quality. That's the thing. And Peter, what's your core group of people who really regularly interact? It's 50, right? Maybe 100.
Well, regularly, it's hard to say because there's a lot of people that comment. I have a diverse range of content. I post a little bit about tech, a lot about how to grow your business and your brand, and how to be a better representative of your brand, usually when that's a personal brand.
You do a lot of how-to stuff.
Some people identify with different content.
You do a lot of instructional how-to stuff, and you do a lot of interesting stuff for entry-level Google Plus people who are first getting on,
right.
Explanatory things, and I think that's been a lot of your success. But really, I have 12, 13,000, you've got 30-some thousand. Everyone in here is in somewhere in the, most people here are in the thousands, but really it's a core group. If you look at it, at the people who regularly post and interact with you. And if you look at Linda's page, you're going to see the same thing, that there's a core group of about 100 people that post regularly on, back and forth with Linda. And but there's also close to 1 million other people who may occasionally comment, +1, share, or just follow her and never interact. So if you want to be on it, you're not on it. It sucks. I understand. And a lot of people feel that way, and it's not transparent. And maybe they should have a committee that determines who's on the list. I don't know, but I guess I don't know. It's still in beta, and
you keep
I keep saying that every
show.
show. It's true though. and it's very much in beta. And I don't think, and the fact that, and it still boils down to this question: when someone asks you, what exactly? I got to get back to the cute Oleg and his adorable daughter. What's your name, honey? What's your name?
That's it.
Rita.
Rita. I see the halo is rightfully on Rita. It's a shame we can't put the horns on your dad, while the halo's on your head, because you're definitely the sweeter of the two. Though we love Oleg to
Thank
death.
you.
But seriously, the hardest question I have to answer is, what is Google Plus exactly? And I'm like, well, you got a minute. You know, my sister was getting ready to give the speech, and I had to give her a primer or whatever. And I was like, okay, you know, let me call you back when I have time to talk to explain. And I think that's a problem. And I think that's the reason that they're pushing the what's hot, and that's the reason they're culling what's really hot to come up with their what's hot list, as opposed to what's really hot. It's the Google's selection of what's hot, and why they have the recommended user list. I think it's their effort to combat this.
And that's and that's the real problem, is because Google Plus is not about people to follow.
What do you mean?
It's not about people to follow. Google's even told us it's not about people to follow.
Right. It's not like Twitter where you just follow and you're being followed. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
What Google Plus is about, and this is from Google
Bye,
itself,
Harold. Take care.
Google Plus is about the integration of every single Google product that's there into a social environment.
But the social aspect
That's
of
what
it, which
Google
is
Plus
Google
is.
Plus, I mean, who you follow is who you read, as Linda said when she was on.
But that's we're approaching that from a Facebook and Twitter perspective.
Exactly.
We're saying that social is defined as who we follow, and it's not. Social is defined as who we interact with. In the real world, making your online experience closer to the real world is how they introduced Google Plus to us. In the real world, we interact with people and we do all sorts of things with them. And that's what Google Plus is trying to do in the scope of what Google does. They're trying to integrate everything that's Google, everything that we do with Google, integrated into a social context. And a social context is more than who we follow.
Okay.
And I know we're beating the subject to death.
Well, it's I mean, it's been a legitimate cause of concern and consternation among users. I mean, Peter's certainly someone who contributes to the. He posted the thing, and he was, as I said, he was pissed off when he wrote the post, and he was lively in the comments on the post, back and forth, and he has a legitimate viewpoint that a lot of folks agreed with. So it's not something that's.
You can't tell it by listening to Peter today. So that means that Peter must have somebody doing his post for him. That's what it means.
That's right.
Peter's
yeah.
a professional, and you know, but all of us have done. All of us have a, you know, I'll put that in a post. So, you know, caution, rant alert, and then I'll rant about something. All of us do that.
Is that the Netflix deal we're talking about now? Are we switching back to
yeah,
Netflix?
let's talk about. Oh dear.
Well, here's the deal. We're emotional beings. As professional as you want to be, some things are going to strike your emotions, and that's what the internet is here for us to blog. It's not that we're publishing it in a newspaper, having it on the front page of NewYorkTimes.com. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking, and this is out of line, and I'm going to call it out right now. I may come back on my word, because I'll tell you what, you have thoughts that change over a period of time, and that could be 2 days, 2
MG
weeks.
Siegler.
Somebody could walk into a store wearing something, you make an assumption, and you find out what the real story is, and then you change your mind.
MG Siegler is a very popular writer. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people love him, but I read him, you know, and he rants all the time about stuff. And you know, and as I learned 2 weeks ago, don't think that your simple short Google Plus post can't go viral. You don't have to put it in the newspaper.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if it talks about Netflix.
Oh my God. Okay, moving right along. Let's maybe your adorable daughter can join us next week in your stead. All right. So what during my brief absence, my 2-minute intermission after an hour and a half, what's next? Problems with Hangouts in Chrome. Alan, what's the next topic?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
Let's
that's
lose
next
our
topic.
remaining
Problems with
viewer and
Hangouts in
talk
Chrome.
about problems about a real tech topic here. Problems with Hangouts
No,
in Chrome on
we
your
won't
PC.
talk about it in terms of tech. We're just going to pass it on as some technical solutions. A lot of people who have been joining Hangouts using Chrome have had a lot of timeout problems, have had a lot of connection problems. Google's come out and said, yeah, we know it's a problem. It's a specific problem. It's the interaction between how Hangouts work and how Chrome works. They have a workaround currently in place for Chrome. If you do see timeout error messages, just try again. You've got a better luck joining the second time. And they're hoping to push out better fixes within the next release, within the next couple of days, for Chrome. For Hangouts, and the next release of Chrome should have some improvements on the front.
I went through a phase where my Chrome was crashing 5-6 times a day, right? And I had
This is different than that. This is a problem that specifically happens when somebody in Chrome tries to join.
6 times a day, right?
Yeah. Oops.
Okay.
And so this is something they're aware of, something they're working on. You're seeing some workarounds rolling out now, and fixes are coming down the pipe. So I think that's all we really need to say about it.
Okay. Hangout hotkeys.
Yeah, Dan, we know you've wanted for a long time to be able to do something like press the 1 key, and the first person will show up on the main screen, and press the 2. And they've heard that. They're still working on it. But in the meantime, I wanted to make sure people were aware of 2 significant hotkeys, which will really help things out. If for your Windows users, Control-D will toggle your microphone being muted or not. On the Mac, that'll be Command-D. And on the Windows, Control-E will toggle your video mute.
It doesn't seem to work, Alan. I just tried it.
I just saw...
It works.
It does work. It's either Control-D or Control-E.
Oleg, you should switch to Mac.
I should what?
He said you should switch
Mac,
to
yeah,
Mac,
okay,
and
that's
that's not going to happen. We know that.
It only works on the Mac, I guess.
No, we had people on Windows demonstrating it without a problem.
It's not working. I mean, I just tried Control-D. And
They also said they're rolling these out.
No, these have been in place for a while,
Really?
actually.
Okay, click the Google logo in the upper left-hand corner. That was the problem before with the spacebar hotkey. You have to click the Google logo in the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah, you probably need to make sure your window has focus.
Now, this is exactly what I'm talking about, Alan. This is the kind of crazy thing that you'd never see on Facebook. You've got to click the logo before it works.
It's not that you have to click the logo.
It has nothing to do with that. I mean, I have an active window, it just doesn't work for whatever reason.
Maybe it's just you, Oleg. Have you ever...
It's just out of focus, that's it.
Oleg seems to have disappeared.
No, not now.
We should be so lucky. No, Oleg's just not a very technical person.
I'm leaving.
I'm just kidding. We love you, Oleg.
Animosity
Rita, we love your pops. Don't let him leave. Okay. All right. So we have exciting new hotkeys that work if you select the window and if you click the Google and if it works. So that's awesome. That's a great innovation. And it proves why people are spending 3 minutes a month. No, I'm just kidding.
It's very useful for me.
Whoa. Slow down. Little update. It doesn't work. Only if you have window. If you have the window, let me see here. Yeah, it doesn't work if you have the window less than full screen. Try it.
Oh, it works in Mac. Mine is less than full screen.
It's working fine for those of us who have, real windowing systems.
No, but Alan, seriously, try it with the window being less than full screen size.
Seriously, I can't.
It is. Hold on.
All right. While you guys diagnose this bizarre and niche at best technical glitch, let me move on to another topic. If you've got a problem,
use the submit feedback button.
Yes, so you can be in a spreadsheet of aggregated comments that hopefully someone will read. Okay, new graphic overlays for Hangouts, as we've seen. I guess Oleg is demonstrating one for us. A halo.
Yeah.
Yes, there are 4 new graphic overlays.
Why don't you demonstrate them as you go so we can see for full effect? Be a team player.
Elaine's demonstrating them fine.
Elaine, let me see Elaine. There we go.
I got a kitty on
Elaine Sharpe, you're a kitty. Go ahead. Get kitty, halo.
And I got the angel, which is, not me.
No, it's only mine.
That's the
me.
Oleg.
Right,
that
Peter?
I think Alan, didn't the engineers say that was patterned after Oleg, that one there?
Yes.
And then what's the 4th one? Oh, Sreek, go ahead and do it again.
A dog, an angel, and a demon.
Another useless time for programmers in Google.
And we notice you've been using it all night, Oleg.
It's not very perfect. It doesn't really work all the time,
Well, it's the same as any of their other graphic things that have come on. And
what is the practical application?
I said this is silly, it's cute, but
there is no practical application, Dan.
There are real and practical applications for this.
I guess it's like an emoticon or something.
No, it's not because
It's an
the
icebreaker.
mask.
The whole everything I've read and everything I've even talked about this myself in Hangouts and maybe in a couple of comment threads. It's an icebreaker. It's a way for people that are nervous about coming in this for the first time to say, hey, I know this is your first Hangout. Why don't you click that button? And then all of a sudden they're having a little fun because it's probably the first time they've seen anything like that. We're all geeks sitting here. I mean, we know how this stuff works. It's no new news to us. This stuff's been here since the late 90s. But to them, coming on here, seeing it for the first time, and then having some sort of comfort level because everybody's being a little bit goofy, it makes the conversation.
Yeah, probably.
Exactly. It's silly. It's fun. There's a lot of Hangouts that are just, all they're there for is just to be silly and fun. And as part of that, it's a fine, it's fine as much as anything else that's going on.
But actually, if you, I mean, can I do? Let me see if I can do this. Can I do this? Does that work? Yeah, that works. And that works.
Now, what are those now?
So if I can do this with my camera, Alan, what's the point of having it in the Hangout?
Because not everybody can do it with their camera. And it kind of gives people tools that they can play with as part of a Hangout.
You kind of match my background.
I think it does something wonderful for you, Oleg.
Yeah, it does something exceptional. I agree.
I don't think it's a ratings bonanza, so I'm going to move. A slight hint at the Google and the Plus roadmap. Did you add that, Alan? And there's a thunderstorm here, so if I suddenly disappear, I hope I don't, but that's why.
Speaking of disappearing, thanks for having me,
Peter,
Dan.
thanks so much. Have a good one.
See you later, Peter.
Thanks for sharing your rants. You're always welcome. All right. Okay, so Alan, what's the deal with? Did you?
I didn't post this, but what this was is Google. This was an article that was posted. I believe this one is either quoting Fortune or CNN or somebody like that. Had an interview with Google's vice president for advertising. And if there's anybody at Google that actually makes money, this is the person who's responsible for it. Basically, in it, she talks about a broad variety of things, including some hints at where Google Plus is going. And one of the things she said is, and I'm quoting here, with Google Plus, it's not just about building a social network. It's the idea of what is our experience when it revolves around people based on who you know, based on who you have in your circles, and how we as users think about the information that we, Google, give to you. So that kind of, again, suggests that they're thinking about this in the long term. They're thinking about how it integrates with all of their products.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's no question they're doing that. And they already alluded that. Anyway, let me do a quick update, and then I'm going to peel out because Dan keeps kicking me out, so I'll just leave. Basically, the way it works is this. You need to click. It has nothing to do with the big screen, small screen, or clicking inside the window. You need to click on that bar, not on the logo, but that horizontal bar where the logo is. If you click anywhere in there, then it works. Okay, so that's the deal. You need to click in that area up at the top, where same area as the logo, but not. You don't have to click on the logo, even though you can. Just anywhere in that horizontal strip will make it so it works. If you click anywhere else, then it's not going to
Oleg, you're saying where it says Google Plus on the top left, and then it's just the white bar, and between that and your microphone and on and your tool thing.
Right,
just click there.
Exactly. Anywhere on that bar you click, then it
and then I can click Control D.
And what will that do?
Control D for microphone and Control E for camera. Right, Alan?
Yes.
Like I have to again add that it looks like it's very Windows specific because we have no such issues with Mac. I'm not saying because I use Mac, but I actually clicked on your video.
What browser are you using, Sreek?
Chrome, I think the latest version.
Yeah.
And I've tested this with both Chrome and Safari. It wouldn't surprise me if there are some technical issues behind this, but I know this was something that they've been working on to address accessibility issues. There are some other keyboard shortcuts for accessibility issues.
With that, you guys have a great
Thanks,
weekend.
Oleg, so much, and congratulations to your very intelligent and beautiful young daughter who can tell us any day of the week for any year.
No, it's not even that. I asked her to tell me what the last Friday in a certain month was, and she couldn't even tell me that. So it's pretty remarkable.
That's neat. She'll be on 60 Minutes before long.
Well, I got to make a living somehow. So.
That's interesting. You're on America's Most Wanted, and she's on 60 Minutes. This is some intelligent kid.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Oleg. Have a great one. Thank you. Okay, I think we only have one more official topic right now, and this is the Do you have your ID card? Do you care? Facebook does apparently. What's the deal with that?
I don't care.
This has got to be one of the.
I got one.
Okay.
You
I
got
decided
one?
to be. I jumped in like a lemming. It was fun. I know Moritz, so I decided to do one.
Yeah, well,
It was
here's the funny thing about the last time I saw Moritz give a stat on it, about 120,000 people or so got theirs. What's really funny is if you look at the evolution of this, Moritz got the idea from an artist in Germany who created a Facebook ID card protesting about how Facebook was getting all of this information about us and was essentially treating us as, being able to create unique identifiers for us and kind of speculating out loud, gee, what'll happen if we need to get a Facebook ID for our work in the real world? And he created a Facebook ID card, and Morris then did essentially the same thing for Google+. What I find particularly funny is, I don't know how many people remember, about 7 months ago,
Carmeline.
there were these Google Plus ID cards that were all over the place.
I think it was Carmeline Thompson designed it. And you know what's even more interesting is that Facebook went after that guy and forced him to take it down.
That's the follow-up. That's what I meant
Whereas
by
here
Facebook.
we are on Google Plus going, give me one, It's
Not
just
even we are saying, give me one. If you look at, if I remember correctly, I think I saw Vic was showing off his.
Yeah.
Natalie was showing off hers.
What are you talking about,
So-
Al? I don't understand. You're saying, okay, I missed this, and I don't understand the reference, and I'm kind of half understanding what you're talking about. So months ago, some guy created a Google Plus ID card. Was he selling?
Yeah,
Were they selling them?
No, it was just this. It was just
was
this
a woman.
graphic that people could put on their profile pages or post a thread about. And it was just something silly that showed your ID number and showed a nice graphic and it showed your profile image and it showed some of the other stats about you. And at the time that it was created, a lot of people were using it to kind of pick up on Eric Schmidt's comment about how Google Plus wasn't a social service; it was an identity service. And that's what people picked up on, and they were showing these ID cards to kind of dramatize that situation.
And then they went after him and made him
It was
stop.
Carmeline Thompson, and it was back in July.
No, Google Plus didn't, nobody at Google made them stop. Just it ran its course as a fun thing to do. And now somebody in Germany did something very similar for Facebook. And within the past couple of days, Facebook, a lawyer from Facebook called him and said, you need to stop doing this because you're violating our trademark. And
Which isn't shocking because, I mean, they don't even want people to legitimately put the logo on the business cards with their Facebook accounts.
Right. No, it's not terribly shocking, but there have been some people who have said, the guy may have been able to get away with it if he really wanted to put up a fight. And, he wasn't using the whole word Facebook, which was clearly a registered trademark. He was just using the letters FB. So, there's some question about could they legitimately have made him shut down. But he said, he's not, he's an artist. He's not trying to get in trouble. So he voluntarily shut down the site. But one of the things they're doing is they had planned to be handing out sample Facebook ID cards in public, in real space, over the next couple of weekends. And he said they're planning on going ahead with that, and they plan on doing that in a...
See, that kind of thing pisses me off, Alan. That pisses me off. They have I've seen stuff, and I'll post this sometimes on Facebook. They'll sell your data, right? But then you can't exercise your freedom of speech to simply tell people where to find you on Facebook.
You can tell people where to find you on Facebook. You just can't violate their trademarks in doing so. It's very clearly spelled out in the terms of service, Dan. Didn't you read
How
them?
do you... Obviously a joke. Nor have I completed a James Michener novel or read the Obama healthcare plan. Okay, so was the issue the logo or the word Facebook or what?
Well, Facebook is a trademark. The word Facebook is a trademark.
So is Sprint, but I can tell you, like, if I can say, here's my Sprint cell phone number on my business card, and they can't stop me because I'm just saying that that's the case.
They could legitimately stop you. Maybe.
How does he have 900 million users when he's such a jerk?
Well, that's a very good question. That's a very good question.
My God. I thought that character in the Social
Well,
Network
you want
was
somebody
fiction,
socially
but
dysfunctional?
or you know,
Yeah.
fictionalized. But yeah, that's the thing. All these people complaining about Google Plus or Google and privacy, and I'm like, if y'all go home and use Facebook and talk to your girlfriend or your neighbor or your mom or your buddy from school, and the God, this guy's such a jerk. The boy king. But anyway,
I am so quoting you on that.
any now that I've offended 900 million people, I topped 2 weeks ago. Okay, anybody? Any final Google Plus thoughts? Let's start with our newest participant here, Eileen. Any?
Elaine.
Is it Elaine? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yep. What do you
I don't
wanna
know. Did you have a good week? I mean, any interesting stuff
I
happen
did,
on Google
and you
Plus?
know the thing is,
What's up?
yeah, I've been here since field and beta, and I came on knowing absolutely nobody, and now I have 17,000 followers, and I have a very diverse group. So, you know, I would have to say that maybe I'm the anomaly, but I really don't care about being on the suggested users list, and I don't care about being on the hot list. As a matter of fact, for the first time yesterday, I was on the hot list, and it was painful. It really was painful. It totally destroyed my my ability to simply have a conversation on my profile, because suddenly there were, you know, 100 people making comments just like LOL. That was it. I mean, that was the extent of the conversation, and it was tedious. And, you know, 200 people shared something, and I don't know. I'm not interested in it. It doesn't affect my interaction with the people who
That's the
matter
point
to
I
me.
was
And the people
making.
who matter
That's
to
the point I was making. You have quality. With your 17,000, you have quality.
Absolutely.
You have a slowly cultivated following that likes what you do.
Exactly.
It's not that they saw you on a
Exactly.
billboard and you have 700 million
Mm-mm.
people or 700,000 people,
Yeah.
and they leave, you know, asinine or irrelevant or spam comments.
Listen,
You know,
yeah, I'm not young. I'm not a hottie. I don't give a shit
Ooh,
about what, you know,
you gotta
tech.
watch.
I mean, it's part of, it's part of what, you know, my background, and I know a lot about tech, but it's not my thing. Social marketing isn't my thing. I'm here doing random stuff. I would have to say that I'm probably about as random as you can get in terms of I post what I'm interested in.
I don't know. Alan's pretty
That's
random.
all.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know Alan, so I'm gonna have to check out Alan later.
That's it. That's it. Alan's a great guy. Okay, Sreek, did you have a good Google Plus week? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about that 900 million user comment you made. Um, well, you know, I kind of think that Facebook is mostly like the early days or the later successful days of Microsoft, when you do something wrong and then you pay for it, and then that becomes the standard. But anyway, that's not the real thing of what I want to say. I actually sent you a link about this article in Forbes. I don't know how many of you read it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, give
About
us a quick because you chat. I'm sorry, I forgot. I was gonna add that to the list. Please, next time you have something like that, add it to the list because anybody can edit that list.
Okay.
But yeah, give us a quick thing on that, and then we got to roll because we're coming up on 2 hours, and I'm gonna get all the Dan, please shorten the show. Have some discipline. But you were actually chatting back and forth with the author of the article, and I think the gist of it. It was talking about, because I guess March 1st was the start of the new privacy policy, or the terms of service agreement, which was billed as, instead of having scores of disparate policies scattered across the things, it's going to be one policy that affects all the Google properties, everything from YouTube to Google Plus to Picasa, etc. And the advantages in that article, he suggested that one of the things was if you send a Gmail, a message in Gmail to somebody talking about you're thinking about buying a British car, then later if you go to YouTube or Google and you search for Jaguar or Jaguar, as they say in England, then it would pull up the car, not the big cat. But then he went on to say that, but wait a minute, this is a game changer for the positive image that the brand has had in the past, and what was his argument there?
Well, the article itself is written by a guy called David Wintemuri. He's a contributor for Forbes, and the article is titled, "Did Google break the brand at midnight?" He's not even looking at Google Plus. He's saying that by doing this, by combining, what Alan was saying earlier today about making Google as one product with a lot of services under that. His argument is it's going to break the brand, and I kind of didn't agree with that. So we had a little back and forth, and you can see my comments on the article. And then a couple of things what he said didn't make sense to me. He said it's a breach of privacy. Well, hello, you've been using Facebook. He doesn't understand privacy at all. And then he also says that Google is kind of putting a what do you call making itself a target like Microsoft some time back, antitrust and all these things. A couple of things he actually mentioned in the article itself was wrong. He was saying that if it's a shared computer, then whatever you search in Google could end up on somebody else's search results, which is BS according to me, because if you actually signed in and search something, yes, it will show up as your search history. And of course, Google always gives you an option to delete whatever history you have and all these things. But it was just that, and it was a very interesting article. I don't know whether it's a good article.
Okay.
I think
Go ahead, Alan.
Not too surprisingly, it was quite a lot of stories and articles and such came out yesterday about the new privacy policy. I was in a Hangout with the Hangout team, and in the middle of it, a reporter jumped into the Hangout trying to get people to comment on a quote for it. And every single person in the Hangout talked about how the media had totally bollocksed the story.
I think that the two prescient things to me are the funny comment, obviously flippant and sarcastic, but very telling, that I think Alan said, did you read the terms of service agreement? Like, nobody reads them. Nobody reads them.
Here's a good one.
And the
Actually,
other...
There's an interesting quote that I heard. About this. There was a statistic quoted. Somebody said that only 1 out of 10 users had read the new terms of service. And
I'm surprised it's that high.
I'm surprised it's that high. Probably it's all of the news media and all of the EFF people. And that
EFF
accounts
people.
for 1 out of 10 people.
I don't even think news media reads it.
What they didn't say was how many people, percentage-wise, had read the old terms of service. And I suspect it was even worse.
Yeah, no, but I mean, who has time, Like I said, it's all about the return on investment. Before you do anything, is this worth my time? And I don't mean return on investment. That's the best term, but I'm not talking about financially. But I'm talking about, before I open a Facebook tab and look at this completely, the only thing that reminds me, like, the new thing is just so ridiculously, so many different three things going on, basically 3 streams. And I've got Google Plus down pretty well, but it's just, it's like, how much time am I going to spend on this? But I think that, to me, I think it makes sense because it's one simpler terms of service agreement, and that each separate entity can lobby to have their new term entered into it. And then there's one group of people who decide, this makes sense, and we'll do it to try to make it simpler, in the same way that the current administration is doing this with the credit card forms. I remember whether or not you agree with the current administration or not. I remember that interview with the woman who helped start the consumer thing, and she said, it was just great interview. She said, I'm a Harvard professor, and I don't understand my credit card agreement. And it's true. I mean, you read all these crazy legalese terms. So they're trying to simplify it. And that example of I sent an email if I send an email to Alan and I say, I'm interested in, should I get a Mercedes or a Jaguar car? And then later I'm Googling or YouTubing for videos, that it would know that I'm not talking about the cat, I'm talking about the car. That would actually be helpful to me. But then he pointed out, what if you're on a shared computer, and what if you're looking up cancer treatment, and you haven't told your wife yet, because you're not sure. That's you know what I mean?
How will it show up on your wife's search results?
If you're on a shared computer and it's still logged in as him. That's the thing. I mean, that was the point that the article was making. That was the one graphic example.
Which is not true. my belief it's not true unless it is shared locally, unless there is some cookie which kind of stores.
Well,
your
if you're
search
on
results
one
locally.
computer and you and your wife both use the computer, of course it will be shared locally, and of course that's a very
here's the
accurate
thing, Dan.
example, Sreek.
Well,
Here's
did
the
you
thing,
read
Dan.
the
If you're on the
article
same
where-
computer, even if you're not logged in, then the local computer's got the cache of where you've been before. So, this has nothing to do with Google's terms of service. You can have
This
the
has
exact
always
same
been the
problem with
case.
Internet Explorer. You can have the exact same problem with Firefox.
There is one thing.
It's irrelevant to Google.
If you use
in
the
that
same
aspect.
But it
Chrome
got great
browser,
hits
if you
on,
actually-
on search results, Alan. Go ahead, Sreek.
But
I'm
this
just
has
joking.
always been the case with Google. Google has always provided a feedback. I mean, HTML5 is being built on the back of what Google has been doing all this time, which is to give information. You've always had a header in your Gmail account that relates to your email. This has always been the case. It has never been anything other. So what they've done in consolidating all the terms, they have simplified it, but it's the thing that has always been present. And there's a certain kind of transparency that's required legally now, which wasn't necessarily written out specifically before, but it was always there. This is a data mining, research-based interface. This is what
Exactly.
Google-
And, I'll be honest. I was very surprised to learn that they weren't already sharing data between the components.
Which is a great thing. I can't imagine that they're not going behind our back and sharing it.
Right. I mean,
The reason
for a lot of people, it kind of makes sense to me if you're saying Google Mail in YouTube. You may not be aware that YouTube is actually Google, but for sharing between Google Docs and Google Analytics and Google AdSense and Gmail and all of the stuff that's very clearly branded as Google, it was really surprising to me to learn that those were stovepiped in the past.
Isn't
And
it?
What's also
surprising for a lot of
interesting,
people I know.
what's also interesting to me is that Google is mining data. Google is not analyzing our data. Okay, so gathering data and analyzing data are two very, very different properties.
It is using that data to adjust your preferences. So whether it's analyzing or not, I'm not really sure that's the right word.
Okay,
They
hold
have to
on.
hire
Let me
analysts
explain
to
the
analyze
difference.
data. They sell the data to
Okay,
analysts.
here's the difference. I think for folks, because this is a term that may not make sense to everyone watching. What you're saying is the difference between if I put a cookie on the computer that you were looking up, to use the Jaguar, the cat versus car example, there's a big difference between someone sends, someone does a YouTube search for Jaguar and watches a car video, and then goes and does a Google search for Jaguar, and they get results that are more related to the car versus the thing. But that could all be locally stored. In other words, it could be like not associating Dan McDermott with that search. It could be just associating the person on this computer. That's very different from selling your name to the Jaguar company or putting yourself in some centrally hosted thing. It could sometimes it's all based, it's all done on the local end too.
That's right, and I would trust Google with it.
Clear that what Google has said is they're not selling our data. They will use our data.
They say it very clearly.
They say they're not selling our data. They will use our data to essentially pick advertising for us.
Exactly.
Use our data to set
Isn't
but
the
they're
bigger
not selling our
question,
data itself. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me go to.
Isn't the bigger question and the problem education in general as far as the internet and using computers? Shouldn't people simply be told that anything they do on their computer, whether it be on the internet or locally, is not private?
It never
I
has
don't
been.
care what you do on your computer. It is not private. I don't care if it's related to Google. I don't care if it's related to Facebook. I don't care if it's local on your computer. The moment you connect your computer later to the internet, people can get that information.
But Craig, aren't we holding
So-
internet companies to a different standard? Because it's not everything you do on your computer isn't really private. It's everything you do isn't really private. Remember, you used to go into Radio
That's right.
Shack back when they used to handwrite your receipt, and then all of a sudden,
There's no such thing
right
as
then
privacy.
6 weeks
That's-
later you'd start getting their mailings, and then all of a sudden you'd
That's
get
right.
mailings from other companies. I mean, I'm picking on Radio Shack as an example. I don't know if they actually sold data. I assume they did. But you'd get on these lists based on things. You'd return you'd buy a refrigerator, and you'd fill out the registration card and you'd mail it in 30 years ago, and then all of a sudden you might get a you know, an ad about an ice tray that you could buy or something.
I do not assume that anything I say on my cellular phone is private.
It isn't.
I don't assume that anything I do in public is private. I really don't even assume that anything I do in my home is private anymore. So, I mean, I think for people to assume that they're going to be able to do nefarious things or hide things from their partner or whatever on the internet, on their computer and so forth, I think that's not a very safe assumption.
I guess one good thing about all this controversy is it kind of makes you stop and think before you do something bad. You're less naughty. Are we all less naughty than we used to be, Sreek? Are you? Have you earned that halo on your head now?
I am
because
never
you're afraid
naughty.
of being exposed for any naughty thoughts you might even have. That's next, right? They're going to read your mind.
That's why I used to separate.
Or we stop caring if they know that we're naughty.
Yeah.
Let me just add this. You know, Dan talked about having one service agreement. That was just a precursor for what Google was planning to do, right? I mean, I agree to what Craig said. It is right. You can't assume. You can't assume anymore. Everything is out there in the hands of the right people. They can get. Doesn't have to be Google. The moment you are online, if you're careless, they can get all the information from your computer. But my point is, by joining the service agreements, all that Google is doing is, whatever information you search for, whatever mails you type to your friends, etc., why do you want to see ads in YouTube which does not relate to anything you have searched before and only relate to what you have searched in YouTube? I actually like the fact that Google understands what I want better if I'm a really big Google user. I'll give you a simple example. I was looking for a home, I was trying to buy or whatever, and then I saw this ad on YouTube, which led to me a YouTube video, which is a home nearby. I was amazed. You know,
I think the question is, if you're using these various internet services, you either like the company and you think that they're not up to no good and that you can have a good relationship with them, or you don't. And
no such illusions. No such illusions.
Well,
you know something.
Whoa!
I
Here's
would
the thing, though.
rather have my data in Google's hands than in Mark Zuckerberg's hands.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with Google. I have no problem.
That's another
with Google.
thing. You're right, Craig. If you look at the pattern of behavior, right? Zuckerberg is not somebody I would trust with a sandwich, and
no.
But Google, you look at how they treat their people and everything. You know that. Yeah, they're all out to make a buck, right? They're all out to earn a profit for their shareholders, 100%.
The
way they treat their people, I mean, like the whole thing, you know, do no evil, whatever. I think that they're kind of guided by that to a degree. They're trying to make a buck. They're trying to earn a profit. They're trying to, you know, reward their shareholders, and they're trying to be competitive. But I don't see them deliberately, secretly, nefariously trying to screw somebody and lie and cheat, you know, to.
And if that changes, then we can move away from them.
Correct, but I just I don't. They have not in the past exhibited a pattern of behavior that would make me believe all these horror, scary stories that people are putting out to try to sell newspapers or get hits on their websites. I just don't see it.
But see, that's the failure of comprehension for me, is that people complain vociferously about being held captive by these social networks. Leave.
That's right.
If you don't like it, don't let the door.
Yeah, you were the good Lord's.
Go back to watching the sitcoms.
That actually makes me ask a question. Is it possible right now, after the privacy policy change on March 1st, to unsubscribe from any one of Google's services alone?
Never sign into Google ever again.
No, I'm just asking.
I don't think you're going to end up doing that, though, Sreek. I don't think you're going to be subscribing to a service.
No, I won't be. But I'm saying is it going to be possible at all? I don't think so. That's one thing. Wait, you mentioned Facebook. Wait till there is a two-way complete integration between Bing and Facebook. And everything you post public on Facebook, as well as what you search in Bing, is going to be interconnected so much that whatever you search on Bing is going to be an ad on Facebook.
All right.
Trust me.
I'm not even worried about Facebook, to tell you the truth. I don't use it that much just because I don't like it that much. But
Right.
I'm not worried that they're going to come and attack me or do anything to me. I mean, if they put an ad up that because based on some search I did or whatever, big deal. I don't pay attention to those ads anyway. So.
But the thing that I don't
and
like about what they do
what,
is if you'll click on the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes page and you'll click the like button, or let's say that, okay, let me give you an example, and I've shown this to people. Let's say you're on the Betty Crocker page and you're like, man, my wife loves this brownie mix, and you were just reading the ingredients or whatever, and you click the like button, the Facebook like button that's on bettycrocker.com, right? Do you know that without your knowledge that your friends may see an ad with your picture on it on their page that's when they look at Betty Crocker or whatever, that it'll say that Craig Shipp likes this.
It's worse than that. You don't even need to click like, and your friends will get an ad saying that you've been on the page and read it.
It's
well again,
and you're not aware of it because they don't show up for you. I discovered this when I had a buddy of mine, Alan, who was using my computer and was logged into Facebook, right? And I went to Facebook, and I didn't realize at first that he was still logged in. It was a neighbor. He came over to use my computer for whatever reason. And before I had a chance to, before I realized that and logged out and logged back in as myself, I saw my picture on something. And it said, Dan McDermott likes this. And I forget what it was. And I don't remember if I'd clicked, I don't know if I've ever clicked that I like a page. For these reasons, I don't want to be using an ad. Or I'm just like, why am I doing this? And I don't trust Facebook. But I was like, my God, they're actually using my image in an ad without my knowledge or consent. I'm sure it's buried in terms of service agreement, right? But they're actually marketing a product with my personal recommendation because I clicked a damn button somewhere, and I don't even know about it.
So this gets back to education, and we need to do a better job of informing people of all these things that are going on, so that when they see these things, they can take it with a grain of salt. Just like every time a hurricane hits Florida and they say that the entire state has been completely destroyed, video clips at 11, they need to know that that does not happen. There are buildings here that are 100 years old, 2 miles from me. And if they've been here for 100 years, the whole state has not been destroyed.
People would rather believe fiction than reality.
We have to educate people that this is all a bunch of BS out there, and that you're going to see all kinds of things on Facebook. You're going to get all kinds of spam in your email. When you get something from the prince that says he's got $1 million for you, that it's bogus. Now, most of them know about that one, but they don't know about all these others. So it's an education problem, and until people get better educated about this sort of thing, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah, well,
the other problem is that technology is surpassing our own ability to keep track of what it's going to do next.
That's what leads to awful quagmires like SOPA. That's the problem. There are legitimate issues, and they end up coming up with some horrible thing like SOPA that sweeps the baby out with the bathwater.
I just got a spam phone call the other day, and I'm pretty savvy about this stuff because I've taught my students about it for quite some time, and it was based on Siri's auto response. So it asked me a series of, you know who this is? I'll try to guess. And it was very, very human. It was a very human spam call, but it was a robotic
That's
call.
Interesting. I wish you'd recorded it.
It was, well, I wish, had I known, next time I get that call, I'm going to try
Here's
to record
a question. I wonder if it would have been legal to record if the call had come from a two-party consent state, even though it's not a human.
I'm in Canada.
Even though it's not a human, that would be a good question.
That is a good question.
It's fascinating. And it started out with, hi, I haven't called you for so long. Guess who this is? And it was just like, who are you?
Just, okay, all right.
Just guess. It was really freaky, actually. It was very
welcome to the singularity.
Okay, Craig Shipp, any final thoughts? I got to tie, man, I'm going to get, this is like 2-hour show. Okay, Craig, any final thoughts on Google Plus Week?
It's all the wild, wild west out here. Google is great, and just have a good time while it still is the wild.
Now, how's
wild
your weather
west.
down there? You're in Sarasota, right?
Yeah, it's about 80 degrees today.
Oh man, you have my sympathies. I'm in a thunderstorm and it's cold.
We've got room for you. Come on
Oh
down.
my goodness gracious. Okay, Anthony, I see is incognito or something going on. Alan, any final Google Plus week thoughts?
My final Google Plus week thought, I want to emphasize the fact Google Plus is really about the people and the things that we talk about. And I want to illustrate that with by mentioning a person, and I don't do this very often. Gentleman's name is Alan Shapiro. He spells his first name funny, A-L-A-N. Alan Shapiro yesterday rallied a whole bunch of people to try and cheer somebody else up, and he suggested they post pictures representing joy, talking about what's joyful in their life, and sharing pictures, sharing stories to do so. It's efforts like this that I think really, really typify what's great about Google Plus to me. It's not what we talk about specifically. It's not any given topic, but it's that we do talk about stuff, we do share it, and we do try to find what's joyful in our lives.
Excellent note, and as I said, that reiterates my previous point that Google Plus is about quality versus quantity. But we're working on the second part. So thanks so much for all the participants. I really appreciate it. That concludes this edition of Google Plus Week. I will see you next Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. GMT. Till then, have a great Google Plus Week.